Hey friends, I am going to teach you how to create a line plot today. So you guys have seen bar graphs, you've seen picture graphs, but today I'm going to show you how to create a line plot. Now, for us to complete this line plot, you are going to need to look at some information that is in your math journal. So go ahead and get your math journal and turn to page 305. That's 305. You are going to see some information that kind of looks like this. And the title at the top should say, Height Changes. So at the top of the page it says, the data in the table show the height of 30 children at ages 7 and 8. Your teacher will show you how to make a line plot for the data. So in your math journal, you have something that looks like this. At the top of the table, it says student, and then we see that we have student number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, all the way, and we keep going this way, all the way down to student number 30. Then we see that it says height. So we are going to see the height of these students from when they were 7 years old, and then we see their height from when they were 8 years old. Okay, so for example, let's look at student number 1. We see that when student number 1 was 7 years old, he was 120 centimeters tall. And now that he is 8 years old, he is 123 centimeters tall. So notice that he grew a little bit. He didn't grow that much, but he did grow a little bit. So we are going to try to answer this question. What is the change in height? Okay, so we are going to try and figure out what the change is from when students were 7 years old to now that they are 8 years old. How much taller did they get? So let's look at that table again. If we are looking at student number 1, we said that he was 120 centimeters tall when he was 7 years old, and now that he's 8, he is 123 centimeters tall. So, how many centimeters taller is he now than when he was 7 years old? So the question is, what is the change in height? Well, if I start at 120 and I count up until 123, I would have 3 more centimeters. So student number 1 grew 3 more centimeters. Let's look at student number 2. Student number 2 used to be 132 centimeters, but then she grew, and she is now 141 centimeters. So what is the change in height? How much taller is she now? Student number 2 is now 9 centimeters taller. Let's look at student number 3. Student number 3 used to be 112 centimeters tall, and then she grew just a little bit, and now she is 115 centimeters tall. So how many centimeters taller is she now? Student number 3 is 3 centimeters taller. One more, let's look at student number 4. Student number 4 used to be 122 centimeters when he was 7 years old, but then he also grew, and now he's 8 years old, and he is 126 centimeters tall. So how many centimeters taller is he now? Remember, start at 122 and count up until you get to 126. Student number 4 is 4 centimeters tall. Okay, friends, I am not going to have you sit there and listen to me figure out all of these students, so I'm just going to give you the answers for those. We are doing the exact same thing for all of these students. We are looking to see how tall they used to be compared to how tall they are now and how many centimeters they grew. So here are the answers for the first 15 students. But what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video in a moment. You are going to get a piece of paper and a pencil, and you are going to do the same thing on this side. You are going to figure out how much taller students are now. So a hint, remember, if you are looking at student number 16, you can start at 118 centimeters and count up until you get to 122 centimeters and see how many jumps that was. How many centimeters taller are all of these students? Remember, please write it on a piece of paper because you are going to need this information for the next activity that we are going to do. Okay, friends, so you should have paused the video and you should have figured out all of the information for students 16 to 30. So now I'm going to show you how to create a line plot. So notice down here we've got a line numbered from 1 to 10. This is going to show the changes in height. These are the centimeters that students grew from one year to the next. And over here, notice that it says number of children. So, with the information that we found before over here, we are going to figure out how many children grew only 1 centimeter. Just one child. Now, how many children grew 2 centimeters? Let's see, just one child. What about 3? How many children grew 3 centimeters? 3 children. How many children grew 4 centimeters? Quite a bit. Let's see. Wow, 8 children grew 4 centimeters. Okay, what about 5 centimeters? How many children grew 5 centimeters? All right, 5 children. How many children grew 6 centimeters? 6 children. What about 7 centimeters? How many students grew 7 centimeters? Just 3 students. How many students grew 8 centimeters? Just 2. And how many students grew 9 centimeters? Wow, these are kids that got really, really tall. Oh, just one child grew 9 centimeters. And how many children grew 10 centimeters? No children. Okay, so with this information here, you are going to go to page 306 in your math journal, okay? Because you are going to find something that looks like this. It says frequency table, page 306 in your math journal. And at the top it says, use the line plot your class made to make a frequency table for the data. So you are going to take this information over here and you are simply going to draw tally marks to show how many students grew 1 centimeter, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way to 10. So for example, looking at this table in your math journal, how many students grew 0 centimeters? 0, so you wouldn't draw anything here. How many students grew 1 centimeter? We noticed that only 1 student grew 1 centimeter, so you would draw 1 tally mark here. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up for you, and you can pause the video if you need to look at this line plot to complete page 306. That's all, friends.